Hey everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Civic Spirit, Conversations on Justice and Community.
We're your hosts, Bryon,
and Jackson.
And in this space, we will dive into big ideas in the democracy, faith, race, and what it means to build a more just society together.
Today we're exploring the work of Danielle Allen and Kelly Brown Douglas, two powerful thinkers who challenge us to imagine better ways of living, leading, and loving in community.
So grab a seat, lean in, let's unpack what civic practices and moral imaginations can do to change the world around us. Meet Danielle Allen and Kelly Douglas Brown, two thinkers who care deeply about justice and equality, but from different angles.
Danielle Allen talks a lot about what it means to be a good citizen in a democracy. She says being part of a democracy isn't just about voting. It's about working together, making sacrifices, and taking responsibility to make sure everyone is treated fairly. But she also points out that racism gets in the way of this. When some people are treated unfairly because of their race, it makes it harder for everyone to trust and work together.
As for Kelly Douglas Brown, on the other hand, focuses on Christianity and moral values. She looks at how faith can be used either to support justice or excuse injustice. She's especially interested in how the Black church traditions speak out against racism and help people see their worth and dignity through spiritual lenses.
Okay, that makes sense. Even though Allen and Douglas come from different backgrounds, politics and religion, they both care about the same big picture, the same big question, right?
Yeah.
How does race shape the way we treat each other in society? And they both believe that if we want a better future, we have to face that question head on.
I think the fact of how races have been treated in the past definitely gets into that, because people had the idea of one race is superior to another, and now society is trying to overcome that, which is going to be a big leap because of, for one, slavery that already put Black people down, and now that overcoming that in this day, it's still a thing, racism, even for any other race. So it's just trying to overcome that in every aspect of life, especially political and religious views.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I've been reading Danielle Allen and Kelly Brown Douglas, and even though they come from different places, politics and theology, they both have a lot to say about the community.
Well, Allen sees community through the lens of democracy. She's all about civic engagement, people coming together, participating, having real conversations. Even when they disagree, for her, democracy only works when we all show up and take responsibility, not just for ourselves, but for others.
Right. Like, democracy isn't just a system, it's something we do together, basically.
And Douglas approaches community from the different direction through faith and moral responsibility. She talks about the Christian idea of community where everyone is connected by a shared moral duty to care for one another. She especially lifts up the Black church tradition where community has been a source of strength and resistance. And I can speak more on this part because I kind of know what she's talking about. And it's also been depicted in slavery when it was a hard time for people. So they communicated together. They had church times and dancing and singing. And back for where I used to live, church was a lot of singing. We would have a message from the Word of God, and then there would be singing here, a lot of singing, just to bring joy, changing the atmosphere of bringing in a cheerful atmosphere around people. And that's kind of what Douglas is mentioning about as the faith part to me.
Exactly. So democracy isn't just only a system, it's something that we want to do together.
Yeah. It's only going to work if we cooperate.
Yeah. Douglas approaches community from a different direction through faith and moral responsibility. She talks about the Christian idea of community where everyone is connected by a shared moral duty to care for one another. And she especially lifts up the Black church tradition where community has been a source of strength and resistance.
So both of them are basically saying the real community isn't just about being in the same place, but what we owe each other. So moral responsibility is like, we gotta take care of each other if we want to move forward.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
And they both believe in the power of collective action and imagination. Like, if we want to change things, racism, injustice, and inequality, we can't just wait for someone else to fix it. We have to imagine a better world and work for it. Because, if you're just sitting there waiting for someone else to fix it, someone else is also thinking the same thing, that someone else is gonna do it for them. So just wait and sit around. So you just have to take action.
Yeah, I think that's a super powerful way of thinking about it. They both show their different paths of how they're thinking, but with the same goal, building a more just and caring world through real committed community. And that's very powerful. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about how Alan and Douglas both care about community and justice, but they come at it from really different angles, right?
Yeah.
So Danielle Allen works from a secular civic point of view. She's focused on democracy, citizenship, institutions, how we live together in a shared society, and basically she's all about creating equal access and shared responsibility no matter what your background or beliefs are.
And for Kelly Brown, I read she comes from a theological place. Her foundations are in faith, especially the moral teachings with Christianity and the Black church traditions. For her, justice is rooted in the belief that every person is made in the image of God, and we are morally obligated to fight racism and uphold dignity. And that is something I could agree with too. I've been reading the Bible, and we're made in the image of God, and our ultimate goal is to reach Him.
Yeah.
And we want to help each other.
Yeah.
And make sure that, or try to get everyone else to reach God with us too. So, yeah, I definitely see that.
Exactly. So Alan is saying, let's build a better democracy through civic action. And Douglas is saying, let's live out our moral and spiritual responsibilities. And what's so cool is that even though they're different, they can actually complement each other, like Alan's civic tools that can give us the structure, voting, public dialogue, education, while Douglas's faith perspectives brings in heart and conscience.
Yeah, together they can push us to not only fix the system, but change how we see and treat each other. And I think that's a main part of like the faith aspect, because we always talk about how you should treat each other. And if you show that to someone, even though they're different and they might be living a different life, if you treat them like you really care for them, then that can bring us together. But I bet there could be a tension too. Like, what if someone doesn't buy into religious languages that Douglas uses? Mm-hmm. And that's where, if you just show them that you love them, maybe they won't see you in the religious way, but they can see that you're a caring person, and then they'd be interested in listening to your opinions and working with you and bettering. And what if someone thinks Alex's civic approach doesn't go deep enough? And that challenge, but also the opportunity, they show that tackling systematic racism and building inclusive communities, it isn't a one-size-fits-all, but we need both sides to work for moral transformation,
Exactly. I think what's so empowering about Douglas is that with everything that is being said in the faith perspective, it just helps you become a better person all around in everything that you're doing. So that's a great thing that Douglas definitely brings to the table.
All right, now, and the big question I've been wondering about is how can these democratic practices and moral imaginations work together to dismantle racial hierarchies and build more just societies? That's the heart that their overlap, all giving us the tools, civic engagements, public trust, shared sacrifices, and Douglas gives us the moral vision, the belief that justice is sacred, that everyone has worth. And that's true, everyone has worth. And with the way we act, the practices we do for the moral imagination part, if we show love and we truly mean it, then others can see that if they do the same thing, then there'll be improvement. And
Exactly. So basically, they build on each other. You can't have one without the other, because one without the other is just not strong enough. So you need the structures and the soul, and not having one just really hurts.
Yeah, it's not just about fixing policies or preaching values. I think it's about reimagining how we live together. That's the work. Changing the system and changing the hearts.
Exactly.
Because
I agree with you
it's
fully.
like different parts of the same structure, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're humans. We live on a system, but our hearts are, I guess you could say, guide the system. Because, I mean, if we have good people in the system, then our hearts can lead to good decisions overall.
Exactly. Well, you know what really sticks out with me the most about Danielle Allen? She talks about things like voting or public forums, not just as chores or duties, but as rituals, like democratic rituals that connect us one to another. I just think that's very interesting.
Yeah, like standing in line for polls or just casting a ballot statement. I'm here, I count, I'm part of this. And that's like the political aspect or the political community aspect of it. I mean, every 4 years?
Yeah.
Years? Yeah, people meet up, vote, trying to get the person they think would represent them best in office. And that's where communities come together to pick someone they see is going to be the perfect representative of what their moral imaginations would be. And that's where Douglas's part comes in, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. And when we come together to debate, to deliberate, to listen, even when it's hard, that democracy in motion, Allen wants us to see those moments as sacred in their own way. They create a belonging in your community. And then you have Kelly Brown Douglas, who brings in this deep well of Black theology. She talks about the Exodus story or the crucifixion and ties them to the Black experience in America. It's about pain, yes, but also about reliance and hope.
Resilience and hope.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, and I get that because you know God, he died, he got killed, and in the Bible it's the pain that he went through signifies us being saved from our sins, and as for Black theology, the pain that we went through build us to be who we are now, people that are resilient and hopeful for the future, which is what the faith aspect comes of, and you know you're hopeful that things will become better, and it has to be from the political standpoint first, I think, because that's where it all comes down from politically. The beliefs of the person they voted for changes how the system gets run, and then people can connect together and see that, oh yeah, this is better for us, so they go on from there.
I love that. She reminds us that those aren't just old religious stories. They're moral fuel. They've carried people through centuries of injustice. They say, you are loved, you are worthy, and this struggle means something. So Allen just gives us the overall structure that the civic habits, and Douglas brings in the soul, the moral imagination. Together, they show us that justice isn't just a policy or a sermon. It's lived, it's felt, it's the way that we live our life every single day. And I mean, it's crucial.
Yeah, and I think they both say the same thing, just from a different standpoint. If we practice these things, whether it's showing up to vote, telling stories that affirm dignity, we can actually reshape the world, not overnight, but over time. And that's something we gotta remind ourselves, like, you know, yeah, we're working at these new things to reshape our world, but we gotta remember it can't just happen overnight. I mean, this thing has been going on for ages. And like in the Bible, it's been years since God was crucified, and it's now that people are starting to see it more and more. And same with changes in the world. Those are going to take time. There's a lot of people in the world to reach, and it's a thing that's going to take years. And you might not see it now, but every little thing you do can be a little step forward towards that new new world that's going to be all inclusive, a big community that is full of love for everyone.
So basically, hope in action, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're both about.
Pretty much. I mean, definitely the action part.
Exactly.
Yeah. So after everything we've talked about, Alan's civic engagement and Douglas' moral vision, it really comes down to what we are each willing to do. I mean, in my community that I can speak of for sure is that just being more of a loving person towards everyone, no matter who they are, showing them that I'm looking for a common goal and seeing that everyone being a good community and showing love to everyone is definitely a goal that I'm working on for myself. And then once someone else sees that, then they're gonna be like, dang, I want that too. And then hopefully they feel like they would want to join too.
Exactly. I think that's super great. It's not just about understanding these ideas, it's about living through them every single day. Voting, speaking up in your community, listening to others, challenging injustice when you see it, and also asking deeper questions. What kind of world do we believe in? What stories are we telling ourselves about who matters, and why are we telling ourselves that?
Alan reminds us that democracy will only work if we all show up. Like Douglas pushes us to root out actions in love, dignity, and moral courage. So if we all show up, then the difference is going to happen. And Douglas pushes us that with love and dignity, with moral courage, that's what's going to bring us together. And the challenges for us would be how can we engage in both civically and moral fights in racial injustice where we are.
Whether it's organizing, educating, mentoring, or just having tough conversations, every action counts, and every voice matters. The work is long, but together, with imagination and commitment, we can build a more just and inclusive world. So when we take a step back and look at it all, Danielle Allen and Kelly Brown Douglas are really giving us two sides of the same coin.
It's like heads or tails.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So they both are hitting on each other the whole time. So Allen's all about democracy, participation, and the civic work that we have to do. And Douglas just brings in the faith and the moral responsibility and the power of storytelling to uplift and resist. So just like I was talking about on before, like you need both of them to really make a difference in a community.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't really understand and uphold in their communities.
I definitely agree with that. Like the faith part that Douglas talks about is what brings us together with like, oh yeah, we see the moral part of this and this is where we agree. And then Alan's democracy part is, yeah, we have the same mindset, so we see what kind of system would work best for the community. And together, if we want real justice, racial justice, or we need both system and spirit, we need to act and believe in something deeper. And the connection is with what we believe in and how we treat others.
So let's break this down of what we've been talking about so far. The first thing that we talked about was the civic engagement. It isn't just political, it's also moral. And then the second thing was just the stories, our values, and our faith traditions that can be tools for transformation. There were some good examples for that. The third thing was race and how it impacts everything. So it has to be at the center of how we think about justice. The fourth thing was democracy and moral imagination and how those two go hand in hand in your everyday life.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, the fifth thing was how everyone has a role in their community and no action throughout your day is too small. So to make a difference, you should start tomorrow. So here's the final question that we'll leave you with. How can you show up civically and morally to fight racial injustice in your community?
Whether it's voting, volunteering, teaching, organizing, or just having honest conversation, it all matters. Because building a just society isn't a solo act. It's a collective one, because it starts with the person you live next to, and the people you work with, and then it just moves on from there. The person they work with, their families, and then it just leads all the way around to who knows how far it goes.
Exactly. So it starts with us. We have to make the difference. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope this conversation gave you something to think about and maybe even something to act on.
Whether it's getting involved in your community, rethinking your stories you've been told, or just showing up for your neighbors, we all have a role to play.
If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. It helps others find the conversation.
And remember, justice starts where you are. Until the next time, stay engaged, stay grounded, stay hopeful.
Thanks for listening.